Part 48. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 471. This punch flashed with white light. Fang Ye's body is like an arch, ready to strike, and he punches out. The whole movement is extremely smooth. Boom. This punch hit the swollen Adas hard. A burst of energy penetrated the opponent. The next moment, the entire space condensed. Everyone stared at this scene. What a powerful force, but do you think this is enough? Adas's teeth were chattering, but he still persisted. Suddenly, the power in his body changed. Adas' whole body turned blue and purple. After struggling for a while, he rolled his eyes on the spot. The two of them were like deflated rubber balls. They all went limp. There was no life left at all. Looking at this scene, Lu Leixin couldn't help but feel cold in his heart. It was obviously about to explode. In the end, he was punched by Fang Ye. Discouraged. Only those who have been beaten know how uncomfortable this feeling is. Is the battle finally over? Fang Ye raised his eyebrows slightly and couldn't help but twist his neck in boredom. To be honest, this battle looked thrilling, but in fact it was not too difficult for him. At least until now, Fang Ye's physical strength is still intact. Even slightly enhanced in terms of strength. His attack power increased by at least 200. That is, 200 attribute points. This guy is a pervert, no wonder you can't beat him without any intention, now we don't blame you. Yeah, he's clearly a freak. If a person like this could be trained and cultivated by the military, that would be incredible. It's a pity that he doesn't seem to like being controlled. Who says it's not, but everyone has their own different path of choice, so we can't say much. Since they used their last strength to push Fang Ye just now, they have reached the point where they have run out of fuel. No matter how fierce the battle is, it doesn't matter to them. They can only be helpless spectators. But now Fang Ye's performance is really disappointing. They were shocked, even to the point of subverting their three views. Under the situation and battle just now, if it were them, they would have failed long ago. But this guy actually reversed it with an incredible power. At this time, Tyriel also stood up from the ground. He pointed the holy sword in his hand directly at the crystal holy arch, and then the crystal holy arch transformed and emitted unparalleled holy power to illuminate the earth. Just like the sun, it gave the earth hope and voice. Countless angel warriors died at this moment. He gradually opened his eyes. The earth began to take on a new look, and everything was developing for the better. Fang Ye threw the sealed abyss furnace in his hand to Tyrell just like throwing a stone. Let you keep this thing. Now the threat to the tent's immediate safety has been completely lifted. Archangel, we need your strength to fight the darkness. Hearing this, Archangel Tyrell nodded solemnly. You saved our whole world, I will help you. This is the heart of an angel, the power of an angel. The other party just wanted to give this sacred treasure to Fang Ye. Fang Ye interrupted him with an indifferent expression. Don't give it to me, I don't need it. I just came to complete the task. Now the task has been completed. When the time comes, people from the military will come to contact you. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. As Tyrell opens the connection between the alien space and the real world. This area can now be entered and exited at will, and it is basically under the control of the military. Goodbye, everyone. At that moment, he immediately made a bouncing start. In full view of everyone, he flew directly into the sky, passed through the alien space and left here. The whole movement was completed in one go, without any sloppiness. Lu Leixin and others watched the scene speechlessly. Good guy, this guy is about to go to heaven. No, he really went to heaven. He left the 10th restricted area and returned to his own world. Fang Ye suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. On the top of a tall building tower, looking down at the entire city, Fang Yuyo took out his mobile phone. He was just about to call Suzuki. The sight in front of him suddenly stunned him. Boom! Countless artillery smashed hard on the city's buildings. As the buildings collapsed and shattered, countless people suffered heavy casualties and were instantly filled with the flames of war. Not far from Fang Ye, I saw a monster legion. With monsters, the legion was led by some men in black. Despite the distance, Fang Ye's eyesight was also very good. He saw the moon mark on the arm of the man in black. And it was a silver moon. In other words, the man in front, the men in black, are the protectors of the agents of the gods. After personally experiencing the methods of the agents of the gods, Fang Ye no longer dares to underestimate these people. They have many methods. They can be regarded as difficult enemies. What's the situation? Is this a blatant declaration of war? The military should not care about it, right? This agent of the gods is not a simple person. He actually gathered a wave of alien beasts, but they must have an ulterior motive. Fang Ye hesitated for a moment. He didn't expect this scene. No matter what, cities are places where human beings depend for survival, so the military and various departments attach great importance to it, especially in strengthening defense. What's more, they are a big city, and it can be regarded as one of the important survival bases of mankind. There are many powerful military personnel here, and they are all powerful beings. If anyone comes out, even Fang Ye's Saitama physique will be, don't even think about confronting the opponent head-on. Their big city has been safe for a long time, and there has never been a large-scale war. There are small-scale battles, but such large-scale invasion battles are really rare. So seeing the scene before him, he didn't know what to do for a moment. Is good. To put it bluntly, I am just a student in an academy. He is somewhat capable, but compared to the military, he is obviously still an ant. Things that shouldn't be taken care of are best left alone. Protect your relatives and friends first. I collected my thoughts. Fang Ye quickly flew in the direction of the Suk family. These monsters are menacing and wreak havoc in the city. People in the city didn't even realize why these monsters were so bold. For a moment, I just focused on escaping. When he came to the Suk family. As a result, Fang Ye stopped when he just arrived here. The general is indeed a man who keeps his promise. At this moment, the Suk family not only has a large number of A-level talented people, and the troops from the military headquarters are also here. These military units have a large number of thermal weapons and laser cannons in their hands. There are more than a dozen people with A-level talents. With this kind of fighting power, even if you go into the 10th restricted area, be careful. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 520. The fighting in the field was still going on, and Fang Ye had no strength left to resist. It seemed that he understood that Fang Ye was very tenacious and beat the opponent into shock. Royce did not stop immediately. Looking at this crazy scene, the surrounding soldiers couldn't help but feel frightened. From the beginning of the battle to now, this bald man has been beaten for more than 10 minutes. Royce pushed him to the ground and beat him wildly. They all know how terrifying the power of Royce's fist is, but Fang Ye can actually hold on for more than 10 minutes. It's hard to imagine what kind of heavy blow his body has received at this moment. According to common sense, Fang Ye would have been beaten to a pulp a long time ago, but now he can persist. Go to hell, I'll blow your head off with this punch. Sure, a dark star fist. Royce roared suddenly, and at this moment, other soldiers also suddenly became excited. Sure, a dark star is all Royce. The killing move of melee skills, regardless of facing any hard object, ensure everyone will be shattered to pieces by the dark star fist, without exception. Fang Ye's head is indeed very hard, but under the Shura dark star fist, if he doesn't take any effective protection, he will be shattered into pieces. Is the battle finally coming to an end? Boom. A punch with powerful energy fluctuations was suddenly blasted out. Fang Ye, who had been in shock at this critical moment, suddenly opened his eyes. He stretched out a palm to hold Royce's fist tightly, and held it hard. The Shura Dark Star fist was blocked. As the punch blasted out, a crack more than 20 meters deep appeared on the entire ground. The palace trembled because of this punch. Because the fluctuations generated here were too large. Inside the palace other strong men came after hearing the news. They had naturally understood before that there was a battle here. But this time it was Royce who went to check the situation. With Royce here, it was basically impossible for anything big to happen, so the other strong men in the palace didn't pay attention. Now, as the shaking became bigger and bigger, the battle didn't seem to be over. So fast, everyone was curious about who could fight Royce for so long. After a while, in the blink of an eye, several figures appeared in the sky. These black figures were wearing black clothes and did not reveal their true faces. They gave people the impression that they were mysterious organizations. Unexpectedly, even the 12 Guardians came. It seems that this time it is really a big deal. Yes, this bald man is proud enough to be able to alert the 12 Guardians. Everyone sighed. In addition to Royce, who is the Axis Shura General, the highest status in the palace is the 12 Guardians. They are in charge of 12 important places in the entire palace. Their own strength, naturally, it should not be underestimated. It can be said that one person is inferior to 10,000 people. For Royce, the situation at this moment seemed to have some minor accidents, although these accidents were still within the controllable range. He looked at Fang in surprise. Fang Ye was beaten crazily by him for more than 10 minutes. At this moment, Fang Ye's condition was not very good, but his eyes were particularly tough. He was holding his fist tightly. You can handle it quite well. Royce raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at the opponent teasingly. This guy's fighting ability is not very good, and his perseverance is indeed beyond his imagination. He is indeed an invincible Xiaoqiang, under his own bombardment for more than 10 minutes. Still persisting tenaciously, this kind of courage alone is something that not everyone can possess. Fang Ye's eyes suddenly burst out with a shining light, and the next moment his left fist was suddenly ready to strike. He smashed Royce's head out. The surging breath came from the body, and the flame fist containing the power of the angel moved against the wind. Boom! With a simple punch, Royce was directly knocked into the air. With the blessing of the Angel King's power, Fang Ye's combat power increased to 210 million in a short period of time. Compared with the opponent, it was still some are not enough. Fang Ye looked at the other party with a faint look in his eyes. He could feel that Saitama's physique had been completely activated in his body. This guy's combat power is better than that of a human being. He is much stronger. In a head-to-head confrontation, Fang Ye is no match. This is already the best result now. With Saitama's physical strength fully erupting, Lianfeng's strength is growing faster and faster. Now he has obtained all Saitama's strength. Talent. Any person with a gifted power has an ultimate form in his or her heart that needs to be awakened and developed. The so-called ultimate form is different from other forms. This form inherits almost 100% of all the talents of the power user. Any person with a gifted ability who wants to inherit his own ability matching degree can only reach a maximum of 99.9%. Once it reaches true 100%, it means that it is fully compatible with the ability it possesses. When the bloodline is truly awakened, it will enter a state of comprehensive sublimation. Fang Ye was in such a situation at the moment, after being beaten continuously for more than 10 minutes. His extraordinary physique successfully won Saitama's final recognition. This kid seems to be different again. Come on, everyone, please help and kill him. It doesn't matter if it continues like this, the palace has been destroyed by you. One of the 12 guardians said with a smile. Royce, who was knocked into the air, landed safely at this moment. He looked at Fanya indifferently. "No, just leave it to me. You should watch the show. If you don't want to watch the show, go back to me." As soon as these words came out, the 12 guardians shrugged slightly. "I have underestimated you, but it is a pity that in the face of absolute power, your struggle is useless. Feel the true God." There were dark clouds in the sky, and a thunderous force hit Royce. The next moment, under the magical gaze of everyone, his 2 pairs of huge wings suddenly turned into the color of thunder. The whole person's size was much bigger than before. He is about 2 or 3 times taller and can be called a giant. This should be the real body of the real Axis Shura General. He is really powerful. Axis Shura 5.2 General has the ability to be immortal. Not only is his body invincible, but even his soul will not dissipate. He is the most terrifying existence in the world. At its peak, its combat power will reach 600 million. The most terrifying thing is that the peak combat power of 600 million is only the initial form for the Axis Shura warrior. It is not the real peak. Even so, the opponent's current appearance has already made Fanya feel great pressure. With a combat power of 600 million, facing his combat power of 200 million, who wins and who loses can be perfectly reflected literally in data. Shura Dark Star Fist. Royce was like a demon, inciting 2 pairs of huge wings. He appeared in front of Fanya in an instant. People around him looked at the scene curiously. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 521. At this moment, Fanya's strength has actually been recognized by everyone, and he can force Royce into his strongest form. This bald man is proud enough. Under such strong pressure, Fanya could not resist. This battle was over. Seriously, One Punch Man. Looking at the opponent's attack, Fanya clenched his fists tightly, his eyes as sharp as a lone wolf. The next moment he suddenly blasted out. Boom! A powerful attack came. The attacks between the two sides collided violently. The sky and the earth were eclipsed, and the terrifying air wave caused the surrounding world to fly backwards for hundreds of meters. The attack dissipated. Looking at Fanya at this moment position, the 12 guardians were stunned for a moment subconsciously, as if they were a little unexpected. Royce still stood there, like the god of war, motionless. But Fanya just took a few steps back. At this moment, Fanya he lightly rubbed his right fist with a calm expression. This guy's explosive power seems to be stronger than expected. It's really powerful. If I remember correctly, Royce's attack just now was at least twice as powerful as his opponent's. This is what they were amazed about. Royce's combat effectiveness was obviously a bit weaker than theirs. Under such circumstances, Fanya did not fall too far behind in the confrontation between the two. This is enough to make people feel shocked. It's really not easy. I underestimated him this time, haha, but that's the end of it. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Fanya is at the end of his strength now. He is just pretending to be calm. You do have some abilities. Royce glanced at Fanya calmly and said calmly. He still had the upper hand with this punch, relying on his strong fighting power. But Fanya indeed only used one half of his strength. It's almost like putting your own hands in the same state. Now that my true form has been forced out, your end is here. No matter how strong your body's defense capabilities are, there is no possibility of repair under Shura's attack. Royce's words were like a judgment. He also had the qualifications and strength to say such things. His palm slowly faced the sky, and thunder was attracted to his arm. It was full of energy. The surging Shura power. A domineering and powerful absolute power. A white light slowly lit up in front of Royce, which was not inferior to his thunder power. Looking from a distance, Fang Ye still stands tall and straight. No matter when and where he fights, calmness is Saitama's signature expression. Fang Ye said calmly. Do you think you are the only one who can use the ultimate move? Fortunately, I also have a big move. The white light contained the surging power of the Angel King. The opponent's Shura power made Fang Ye feel it. It was unprecedentedly solemn. It is conceivable that if he does not launch a counter-attack this time, he is likely to suffer casualties. Fang Ye Karma's defense is very strong, but he is not invincible. With the enemy's combat power several orders of magnitude higher than his, he is unable to recover. Now he can only fight hard to find this last chance to survive. Haha, the courage is commendable, but it's a pity that it is useless. The facts are already in front of us. When he used Shura's true body, everything was destined for Fang Ye to be able to withstand his blow. He had exhausted all his strength and there was no miracle that he could continue to withstand the second blow. The terrifying energy and energy vortex spread in Royce's hands and slowly formed, which was formed because the energy was too terrifying. The so-called terror is that a large amount of energy is concentrated and compressed, like a black hole in the palm of his hand. This kind of thing will form when something is pressed to the extreme. The surging power almost overwhelmed Fang Ye. If it weren't for the King of Angels protecting him, Fang Ye would have been kneeling on the ground at this moment. He looking at Royce, who was like a god with difficulty, he slowly raised his fist. No matter how hard he punched Superman, he had to punch out. This was Fang Ye's last glory. At this critical moment, the sky suddenly color changed, golden dazzling light fell from the sky, and the original dark clouds disappeared in an instant. Everyone stop. A majestic voice came from the sky, and under the golden light, a man wearing golden armor and riding a flying dragon slowly came from the sky. This sudden scene made everyone stunned. The 12 guardians looked up with solemn eyes. Under this golden armor, they felt an unprecedented sense of oppression. In other words, this mysterious strong man who suddenly appeared was very powerful, so they had to be careful. Treat. Damn it, who are you? If you dare to appear in our palace, no matter who you are, leave immediately, otherwise you will be killed without mercy. One of the guardians said coldly. If they were ordinary strong men, they would have rushed forward without saying a word and captured this ignorant person. But the person in front of them could not do the same. This guy gave them a terrifying deterrent. Strength. Sure enough, we have encountered a problem. It is another powerful enemy, many times more powerful than Fang Ye. Haha, interesting, I want to see how you kill without mercy. The man in golden armor drew a golden arc of light in the sky with a 50-fold spear in his hand. The momentum was terrifying. Looking at this scene, Fang Ye was a little dumbfounded. He looked at the other person in surprise. You have succeeded. The person in front of him is familiar to Fang Ye, but this is the Dragon Knight, one of the legendary strongest warriors in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sad Man did not let him down. He really found the armor and successfully activated it. It worked. Now I think of many things. This time, thanks to you, I activated all the power in my body in advance. Sad Man nodded sincerely. If it weren't for Fang Ye, I'm afraid he would have been inactive for the rest of his life. I don't know when he will be the end of the world. Who are you? Royce looked at the man above the sky solemnly. This was a strong man who put a lot of pressure on him. Even if he has activated his strongest Shura form, he still has no chance of defeating him. That was a suffocating sense of oppression. You don't need to worry about who I am, you just need to know that I want to take this person away. Sad Man said calmly. What a big joke. Where do you think this is? Is this the language of your family? Come if you want, leave if you want, and leave me to stay. Royce roared angrily, then rose into the sky, and rushed forward like a demon king soldier. The little Shuriking, who doesn't know whether to live or die, dares to be so presumptuous in front of this dragon knight. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 522. Sadman's eyes narrowed, and the golden spear came out of his hand, turning into a sharp golden stream of light. In the blink of an eye, the golden stream of light directly passed through Royce's huge demon-like body and firmly embedded Royce on the ground. Be judged. Sadman is like a god at this moment. It's hard to imagine that he can be related to the previous minor characters. This is the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Everyone has the opportunity to become a top powerhouse. Only you can't think of anything that can't happen in this world. Something. Sadman flew towards Royce on a flying dragon. Royce was stuck with a spear on the ground and could not move. As Sadman pulled out the spear, Royce's entire body was directly suspended in the air. The wild things will die to me. Sadman shook his hand slightly, and Royce's figure suddenly rose into the air. His eyes burst into golden light. Unexpectedly, he actually had murderous intentions towards Royce. Even Fang Ye on the side was interested. Subconsciously, he was stunned. Why should he be so violent? He couldn't even survive 3 moves in front of Royce. At this moment, Sudman actually wanted to kill this guy. What a strong and powerful method, you really have a bit of my style, come on. Fang Ye was full of praise. Under his guidance, his former pig teammate has finally grown up, and he was very pleased. How dare you? Seeing this scene, the 12 guardians were furious and quickly surrounded the dragon knight Sadman in the center. Its energy broke out of the body and turned into a bracelet, surrounding Sadman. At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky once again a terrifying big hand appeared and pressed downwards, bringing with it a strong sense of oppression. Pointless struggle. Break it for me. Under Fang Ye's incredible gaze, Sadman's golden spear pointed at the sky and then turned into golden light and pierced away. Under everyone's incredible gaze, the golden spear suddenly cut through the void. There were only golden scratches on the sky. Shining. This terrifying big hand suddenly disappeared in just a few breaths. Is this the true power of the Dragon Knight? It seems to be a bit stronger than the one in the Yu-Gi-Oh setting. Fang Ye said in surprise, judging from the current intuitive feeling, the Dragon Knight seems to be sweeping everything, and all the evils in the world have nowhere to hide in front of him. The combined attack skills of the 12 guardians were easily destroyed by him. The chains on his body were cut off directly under this golden light. Don't think that just because you have some ability, you can act arrogant in front of us, the fun has just begun. The devil comes to the world, the dark god of death. The 12 guardians seemed to be chanting some skills. At this moment, a giant monster jumped out of the sky, and a terrifying pressure swept over. Here comes the Dark Death, with a combat power of up to 1.5 billion. Fang Ye's face was slightly solemn. A combat power of 1.5 billion is no joke. The big guy Fang Ye met back then only had a combat power of 16.7 billion, and now this dark god of death has been the 12 guardians are just an ancient monster summoned at random. What a monster, please die quickly. Sadman turned into a golden lightning and rushed forward. The golden spear stabbed the Dark Death's skin hard. In an instant, a hole was made in the opponent's skin, and the Dark Death roared in pain. A slap. I filmed it facing Sadman. Boom. The golden spear suddenly hit the opponent's palm. Both parties took several steps back. The Dark Death retreated at least several hundred meters under Sadman's powerful attack. It's hard to imagine that the opponent was so terrifying. Despite his size, not to mention his ancient physique, he was beaten so far by such a short figure as Sadman. It is indeed a bit tricky, so I will take it seriously next. Sadman's spear shone for a while, and then pierced out, like a long dragon, turning into a golden dragon shape. Under the incredible eyes of everyone, it passed through the body of the Dark Death on the spot, forming a big hole. The speed of the movement made everyone click their tongues. They didn't even react to what happened. They only saw. The golden dragon had passed through the body of the Dark Death. Annihilation, strangulation. After passing through the body of the Dark Death, Sadman didn't even look back, holding his hands in his hands, and a touch of golden, small, and exquisite power rippled. Then it rose in the wind. In just a few breaths, the Dark Death he was directly torn into pieces. As powerful as the Dark Death, Sadman could only hold on for a few breaths. You must know that the combat power of this person is at least 1.5 billion. Why do I feel like I am a bit redundant? Is it so excessive? Fanya below was in a mess. The scene in front of him made him deeply doubt whether they were in the same dimension. How could his attack be so brilliant, and the key power was so strong? If Fanya himself faced the god of death, let alone being able to compete with the opponent 50-50. Even if it is 30-70, it is the best result, and the fact is that Fanya will definitely be crushed by the Dark Death. One can imagine what Sadman, a Dragon Knight, is like. How powerful. It was also a battle, and Fanya suddenly felt that he was no longer the protagonist. There was a huge gap between him and Sadman. 1 second he was an ordinary person, and the next second he got the Dragon Knight armor and turned around. Master! Do you dare to be more abstract in this world? It's all you who are doing this. Let me die. Destroying the dark god of death immediately, Sadman's cold eyes swept towards the 12 guardians. These 12 guys gave him a very strange feeling, and their methods were endless. At that moment, without saying a word, the golden Yangtze River suddenly moved towards ahead, the golden lake light cut through the void like a knife. Just when these blades were about to cut through the 12 guardians, a strange scene appeared. The 12 guardians seemed to become one with the air and turn into nothingness. No, be careful, they are going to use Fenju. Looking at the strange appearance of the 12 guardians, Fanya was suddenly shocked. The so-called Burning Jew is one of the oldest curses handed down from ancient times. This is also the famous stunt of the 12 guardians. Fanya is listed in the information. I have seen it before. No matter how strong the Dragon Knight is, this strength is only reflected in the settings, and there are many things in this world that are more perverted than the settings, and that is absolute power. In front of Fenju, no matter whether you are a member of the Knights of Light or the ultimate boss in Yu-Gi-Oh, you cannot escape the fate of being cursed. Once you are successfully cursed, you will have the eternal holy fire on your body, and this flame will always follow you. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 523. Is this the burning technique? No problem, I want to see how strong this Fenju can be. Facing the terrifying curse in the sky like a thunderbolt, the Dragon Knight did not stop there. He continued to wave the golden spear. As the speed of the wave became faster and faster, he saw only the golden light shining above the sky. A dragon was in this golden world. It slowly emerged in the bright light, as if it was alive. Even the tattoos on the dragon's body could be clearly seen. One of the most powerful killing moves of the Dragon Knight, Flying Dragon in the Sky, was really something I was looking forward to, but it seemed a bit underwhelming when facing the burning technique. The Flying Dragon in the Sky is the most powerful physical attack attribute. The Burning Jew is a legal attack to a certain extent, and the same energy between the two sides is not equal. The Flying Dragon is in the sky, soaring straight into the sky, and the Burning Jew is in. There was a blood-red circle in the sky, just like a formation. This formation directly ignored Phaelongzation and slowly pressed down on the Dragon Knight. Seeing Phaelongzation, there was no trace of it in front of Fenju. Advantage, he can't even hit the opponent. Looking at this scene, the Dragon Knight finally showed a hint of surprise in his eyes. This burning technique is really weird, but there is something about it. In this case, let's go first. After saying that, the Dragon Knight pulled Fanya and fled away 350. Damn it, is the palace a place where you can come and leave whenever you want? Leave me alone. The 12 guardians were furious. They once again formed black chains with their hands and grabbed Fanya and others. I won't be able to deal with you in a short time, but if I want to leave, you are not qualified to keep me here. The Dragon Knight smiled coldly under Fanya's incredible gaze. He spun his hands again and waved the golden spear. As soon as the terrifying laser swept out, it directly cut off these black and strange chains. Then he took Fanya to escape. Facing far away, it disappeared in a blink of an eye. The good news finally came out. The Dragon Knight really lived up to his reputation. He couldn't even burn the technique. But you didn't get the chance. Today is an eye-opener. In the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Fanya finally knows how insignificant he is, but because of this, it further stimulates the desire and determination in Fanya's heart, because in such a cruel world, his strength can be improved even more. Quick! They are just some minions. Now that I have just regained my strength, I am still not comfortable using the word Biyage. After I get used to it for a while, I will flatten the entire palace at will. The Dragon Knight said calmly. Now he has awakened his strongest power. Now he is in the strongest state. The reason why he was beaten so embarrassed by the so-called 12 guardians is not because of how weird this burning technique is. It's simply because he hasn't adapted to his own strength yet, and he still doesn't know how to use many skills. In this case, let's quickly go to the place where the Dark Saint lives. I think you should know where you can sense it with your Dragon Knight's induction. Fanya nodded lightly and said quickly, now only the Dragon Knight can find the 3 dark holy pillars. Now he has successfully helped this guy awaken. The next thing is much simpler, and Fanya will soon complete it. One of these 3 major tasks. Only after completing these 3 tasks, he will be able to rendezvous with the other 2 old partners, and then activate the dark portal. Kill towards the real headquarters of God's agent. All of this, it's already off to a good start. Dark Holy Pillar? It cannot be found today. Hearing Fanya's words, the Dragon Knight replied without thinking. As soon as these words came out, Fanya was stunned subconsciously, obviously not understanding what the other party meant. The task given to him by the superiors was to find the 3 major members of the Knights of Light, open the 3 pillars of darkness, complete their own section, and then wait for the arrival of the other 2 teammates. Combine the tasks of these 3 sections together to inspire the dark door, leading to the agent of the gods. The final world. When the time comes, the agents of gods will naturally surface, ushering in their real final battle. Why is that? Fanya said confused, he couldn't understand. It is not that simple to open the Dark Holy Pillar. Once the Dark Holy Assistant is successfully activated, it will release the ability to tear through the void, which is the black hole. When the Dark Holy Orb is successfully opened, that is, the moment the black hole appears, the entire world will be flooded. The huge power required here is unimaginable for ordinary people. Maybe I can use my own Dragon Knight energy to open one of the Dark Holy Pillars, but you will be instantly overwhelmed. How about it? Is this result what you want to see? Fanya was stunned for a moment. He didn't imagine that it was so dangerous here. This time, he was careless. So what should I do? No matter what, I must open the Dark Pillar. This is my mission. Is there any way to accomplish this? Fanya said seriously. Of course there is. There is a necessary prerequisite for opening the Dark Pillar. I need you to help me do something so that I can fulfill my wish. As long as you can help me complete it, then I will release all my power to help you open the Dark Pillar. The Dragon Knight had a condition before that did not say that opening the Dark Holy Pillar would indeed release the power of the black hole. However, the Dragon Knight can avoid such a thing from happening. The premise is that he needs to risk his own life. Use his own life as the bracket can withstand the continuous attacks of the black hole. Only the Dragon Knight can do this. Others have no way. As the most powerful man in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh!, the Dragon Knight has such a qualification. Just like as the Dragon Knight said, he actually has no obligation to risk his life to help Fangya open the Dark Holy Pillar. Even if Fangya helps him regain his strength and successfully awakens himself, this is not an important reason. You want me to sacrifice all my strength to help you, so it's okay to help me fulfill my wish. What do you think? The Dragon Knight crossed his arms and said proudly. Fangya was a little distressed when he said this. Is it Long Chi's unfulfilled wish? This should be the wish of the ancient times, that is, when the Dragon Knight was truly at his peak. Now Fangya it only helped the Dragon Knight regain his strength. The reason why the previous Dragon Knight was an ordinary person was because the other party entered the stage of rebirth. Now that the other party has restored his own strength, his memory has naturally been retained. Even the Dragon Knight has a wish that cannot be fulfilled. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 524. Tell me what you want me to accomplish. Although I may not be able to accomplish it, I will do my best. Fangya nodded seriously and said slowly. I want you to go back in time and help me get a treasure box. According to my memory in my previous life, this treasure box has been obtained by others, so I hope you can help me obtain it in advance and deliver it to me when others obtain it. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned for a moment. The treasure box mentioned by the Dragon Knight must contain the most precious thing in the world. As one of the three strongest men of the Knights of Light, the treasure that the Dragon Knight is interested in the box is definitely not simple, so it is normal for many people to be greedy. However, the Dragon Knight also said that this thing needs to be traveled to the past to get it, and to get it in the future, there are two different dimensions between the two parties. Theoretically speaking, this is simply impossible to achieve and goes against the common sense of physics. Even if this is a fantasy world, it should not violate this basic science. Fangya naturally believes that at the end of science is theology, but theology also it should not be separated from human cognition and categories. How is this possible? If I had the ability to travel through the past and the future, and bring something specific to you, I think the Dark Pillar wouldn't need your help in the first place. This is simply an impossible task. Bringing a treasure from the past to the future. This will change and affect many things, because when this treasure has powerful power, then this power will cause a series of events in the process of traveling through time and space. Adverse reactions and abnormal fluctuations. In other words, when the energy of this treasure is stronger and the fluctuations are stronger, the less likely it is to travel to the future time and space. Of course it's possible. I believe you can complete this task, but I can't. I will help you open the time and space tunnel, let you travel through it, and help me get the treasure. Remember to bring it here to fulfill my wish. Speaking of this, a look of determination appeared in the Dragon Knight's eyes. Not far away at this moment, a terrifying aura came. Royce, the 12 guardians, and one of them were heading towards this. They came over quickly. They were wearing golden robes and looked extraordinary. Fangya was slightly surprised when he saw the person in the front. If his guess was correct, the person wearing luxurious robes should be the imperial palace. The king. That is, the strongest person in the palace. This should be the famous Dragon Knight. Unexpectedly, time has passed, and now it has been tens of thousands of years, and the Dragon Knight will come back to the world. Looking at the person in front of him, the demon dragon seemed a little surprised. Be careful, this guy is very strong, his combat power has reached more than 3 billion. The Dragon Knight looked at this man in luxurious robes and fired continuously, with a look of solemnity in his eyes. This guy is stronger than he imagined. With a combat power of more than 3 billion. That is already quite extraordinary, and the aura on the opponent's body is also very strange. He is indeed the strongest man in the palace, but Fang Ye is also confused at this moment. No, how is this possible? Obviously in the current section of Yu-Gi-Oh, the strongest man they are members of the Knights of Light. No matter how powerful the others are in combat, they are not as powerful as the Knights of Light. The world of Yu-Gi-Oh is a huge section, and the world Fang Ye is in now is just one of the worlds in the Yu-Gi-Oh section. 1. It's just a small piece in total. The real Yu-Gi-Oh worldview, like the real universe, has no end in sight. At least in the world they live in now, the Knights of Light are definitely the strongest, and the king in front of him gave Fang Ye the feeling that he was no weaker than the Dragon Knight. This made him feel very confused. Why would such a person appear? It was simply against common sense. Wrong. Could it be that this king is the famous messenger of darkness? Suddenly Fang Ye thought of an incredible thing, because under this Knights of Light, there is a so-called person whose strength is almost close to that of the members of the Knights of Light. That is the Dark Messenger. The Dark Messenger's combat power is absolutely the pure power of darkness is in a state of mutual restraint with the members of the Bright Knights. From a real strength comparison, the combat effectiveness of the Dark Messenger is not far behind that of the Bright Knights, but because the Bright Knights have 3 members, so from in terms of the overall bloodline advantage, the Dark Messenger does not have the slightest advantage. This is a gap in numbers. Therefore, there is still a gap between the Dark Messenger and the 3 members of the Knights of Light in terms of overall combat effectiveness. This gap is not personal. The gap in strength. 1 against 3, definitely not. It can even be said that in terms of personal strength, the real strength of the Dark Messenger is stronger than that of the Light Knight. The so-called luck complements each other just like luck. Without this thing, no matter how powerful the Dark Messenger is, as long as he cannot defeat the Knights of Light, he will always be outnumbered by any one of the members. This is also a change brought about by the setting. None good luck, then you will always be a loser. Did you not expect that my identity would be discovered so easily? Haha, Dragon Knight, long time no see. Looking at the king in front of him, the Dragon Knight raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't expect that he would meet the other person here. He didn't feel the other person's presence before. It should be because this guy deliberately hid it, so there is no way to detect it. After all, the opponent's strength is relatively comparable to his own. Unless he spends 9 oxen at his peak, the power of 2 tigers can kill the opponent. I didn't expect that we would meet in this way. This time it's a bit difficult. The king in the palace turned out to be the Night Messenger. This guy hid it very well and didn't know what conspiracy he had. Now that the 2 sides have met this time, the enemies are jealous of each other. In ancient times, during the period, the Night Messenger and the Dragon Knight had met once. The Night Messenger, who did not know whether to live or die, was ruthlessly sealed by the Dragon Knight. If there is no hatred in the other party's heart, it must be false. This time I am afraid it will be a battle between life and death. The other party will not. It's so easy to give up, not to mention that there are 12 Guardians and Royce beside them. Although the fighting power of 12 Guardians and Royce is inferior to that of the Dragon Knight, they are still strong, and they are not something Fang Ye can handle. Fang Ye, there are many of them, and I am no match. Now I can only send you through time and space to help me get the treasure back. The Dragon Knight suddenly whispered. Fang Ye also knew that there was no chance of winning at the moment, so he could only take a gamble, so he nodded and agreed. The next moment, the strange power of time appeared, and Fang Ye disappeared from the place. Several years later, Fang Ye finally found the Dragon Knight's treasure after going through all kinds of hardships. However, when he brought the treasure back, everything had changed. The Dragon Knight disappeared, and the Dark Messenger disappeared. It seemed that both parties perished together. But Fangya knew that the dark atmosphere had not completely disappeared. Next, he has to face the darkness on his own. Complete book, Factory.